I designed it. I wanted it to have access all around where people could walk through and see the herbs and smell the herbs and even pinch off some and taste it if they wanted to. But I wanted it to be where it could be enjoyed. Good morning. Welcome to the herb garden of the Tarrant County Master Gardeners. I'm Rita Hoddle. I've been a Master Gardener since 2000, and my partner is
Carol Vance, and I joined Rita in the herb garden right after my intern year in 2011. I've been working here ever since, and it's just a joy to come out here and be a part of this.
We started the herb garden, and I think it was about 2009, and I was asked if I would put in an herb garden. We were just starting the community garden here, the demonstration of the community garden here, and it was in its earliest stages. We soon learned that we had no topsoil, so we really had to build it from the ground up. So we came in with newspapers, thick newspapers to cover the scruffy grass. On top of that went soil and compost and finally mulch. And we've done little else to it since then as far as fertilizing. A couple of times we've maybe added some worm castings. Not much else has been done to it, and you can see the garden is, or you will see, the garden is thriving quite well. It's done very nicely this year with on rain, especially. So that was the beginning of the herb garden, and I designed it. I wanted it to have access all around where people could walk through and see the herbs and smell the herbs and even pinch off some and taste it if they wanted to. But I wanted it to be where it could be enjoyed. One of the things that we did early on was kind of section off the garden into different parts, and we have the culinary herbs, which is a major part of the garden, and then we have what we classified as silver herbs, things that have silvery leaves, gray leaves, and we'll find that in this section right behind us. They often cross over one to the other. Then the section, another section is the butterfly herbs, and we grow them for pollination and for the host plants for some of the butterflies. Then at the back of the garden we have a section called medicinal herbs.
Design of the garden has evolved over time as we've added drip irrigation to the entire demonstration garden. That has presented challenges for our herbs because they have a low tolerance for a lot of water. They need a lot of drainage, and we happen to be the low point in the garden, so we have dealt with that. We had a shade tree which died, so through the generosity of our Master Gardener Association, we've added a pergola this spring to help us have a little shade, not only for our benefit, but also to show how some plants can grow in shade, and we're working on that now. I'm standing in the middle of the culinary herb section. This is one of the section of plants that we're most often asked about because people cook, especially more now that they're home during the pandemic and working from home, and probably will be. So they have more time both for their gardens and for cooking. And these are some of the herbs. Here we have the sage, culinary sage, rosemary, more rosemary. This is lemongrass, which is used a lot in soups and Asian cooking. It grows like a reed. It will come back if you don't cut it back in the wintertime. It will turn brown and a lot of people don't like ground, but it really does add to the winter landscape as a full effect. When spring comes and we have protected the base with the old growth, then we cut it back and it comes out from the roots. We have one of my favorite herbs here, which is a Mexican mint marigold. It's used in Texas where we can't grow tarragon as successfully because of the heat. And this is a wonderful herb. Just standing here rubbing against it, I'm enjoying the fragrance of it. We have lemon balm behind me, which I keep trying to call the lemongrass, but this lemon balm is a completely different animal. It reseeds vigorously, and it's great if used in teas and cooking. You can even dice it up in your shortbread cookies. There are two kinds of herbs that we grow here. There are annuals, which means they live 1 year, or biennials live 2, such as parsley. And then there are perennials, which come back every year, either from the rootstock or from the ground. The ones that we've looked at so far in the garden have been perennials. In this section, we have parsley, which we have started from seed in our greenhouse. It's going to seed now, and we will harvest those seeds after they're dried on the stem. We haven't had a chance to put basil out this year, but we have enough of it because it has dropped seeds. Throughout the growing season, we don't let it go to seed. We snip those flowers and seed heads off so it will produce more leaves for us. At the end of the season, we do let it go to seed, and ta-da, we have more basil plants. The society garlic here, which is not a true garlic, but it is a perennial plant with use as a herb. And we have a great crop back there of chives, which come back every year. Thyme is a small trailing plant, and we have thyme all around our circle here. I'd like to mention a few more herbs that you can grow here in North Texas. We have oregano, which is very successful and wonderful to use fresh from the garden. We have marjoram, and I mentioned the garlic chives over here. This is a plant that you might want to keep in a large container simply because it spreads so easily. We're asked about the difference between herbs and herbaceous plants. Not all herbs are herbaceous and not all herbaceous are herbs. A herbaceous plant refers to a plant that dies back to the ground in the winter and comes up from the roots. So many herbs do that, and many other plants do. But a herbaceous plant is not necessarily what we consider to be a herb. Many of the plants we have here can grow year-round in Texas. We have the Salvia greggii, which stays up and green through the winter, but we do cut it back or it gets too large. We have the Mexican oregano, which has a wonderful flavor, makes a wonderful bush, and can be used in culinary dishes. Back here we have some more of the Mexican mint marigold. This time of year it looks like a wonderful little bubble, but it will grow. In the fall it puts on beautiful yellow flowers, which can be used in salads, but it also gets tall and leggy because that's just what it does. And the tall stems will fall over. So if you plant this, do it outside, either in a giant pot or in the ground where you have a space around it, which is what you will see here. The little tree in the middle is a witch hazel. And if you know anything about witch hazel, that's a witch hazel tree. Behind me we have a wonderful array of echinaceas, pink coneflowers. And we put these in a few years ago from small transplants in 4-inch pots. It came from one of our other gardens.
This is our circle garden in the center of the garden, and in it we have thyme and some different varieties of thyme, but right now it's in bloom. One of my favorite thymes is the lemon thyme, or the lemon lime thyme, to use for culinary purposes. Right now it's in bloom. It's acting as a pollinator for the bees and the butterflies, and as you can see, it spills out over the side. Next to that in the front we have calendula. Now it's really a winter plant. It likes our winter months. It doesn't like our hot months, so it's fading away. it'll be going to seed and it will reseed itself. It is used sometimes in place of saffron, the petals of the flowers, and adds a little flavor to a dish. And behind that, up on the top circle, is Kent's oregano. And it's more of an ornamental, but it is beautiful. It has little pink flowers on it. It's not blooming much right now, but it is a beautiful addition to your garden. A lot of people are surprised by this one. This is stevia. Yes, the same kind you buy in the little packets to sweeten your tea. You can use the plant leaves as a sweetener. They are extremely sweet. If you bite on one, it's almost too sweet to tolerate. We have some dill that over here that is still hanging on, but it doesn't like the summer heat. We're leaving it as long as it will because the butterflies like it. The black swallowtail butterfly lays its eggs on dill, parsley, and fennel. And the little caterpillars hatch out of the eggs and they start munching away on the plant that they have, where they have been placed. And they're very plant specific. So they will chew away, eat away until they're as large as your little finger about, and then they will find a place to go and become a chrysalis. After the chrysalis stage, out comes a new adult butterfly. And you can watch those beautiful things growing in your garden, the little jewels that flutter around your garden. So provide the host plants for your butterflies. This is what we refer to as our medicinal section of the garden. And we don't promote it for medicinal purposes. It's here for you to research. But I'll tell you what some of the plants are. Behind us with the little white bell is comfrey. And it has some medicinal uses. Lamb's ear was used by the early Americans and the American natives as band-aids. A little other use for it was they used it for their personal hygiene. Because the leaves are very soft and kids love to touch them and feel them. If I grow it at home, my granddaughters will just about strip it because they love to just play with the leaves. They feel so nice and soft. But it also has antiseptic qualities to it. So it was used on wounds. Behind here we have bee balm or mercada. And it has some medicinal purposes also, which I won't go into. You can look them up if you would, please. And behind that is St. John's wort. I do know it's used as kind of an antidepressant. So a lot of the plants that we grow are researched and used in medicine, but if we haven't researched it or we don't know what it's used, what they use it for, or if it's not something that's clinically recommended, we prefer not to recommend those plants for medicinal uses. But we do like to have them for demonstration purposes, so you can see what they look like. They're very beautiful additions to the garden. And this is a bay that's used in soups and culinary uses. It's perennials. It grows really large once you get it established. It can get up to 30-40 feet. So containing it is a challenge, and pruning is an art. So we recommend that you put it in an area where you can allow it to grow. Sometimes it doesn't succeed the first time. It depends upon your soil, climate conditions, and if you buy it from a nursery, how it was packaged and shipped. So container grown is best. You can grow them through cuttings. You can use the leaves fresh off of the tree. I've asked that quite a lot. Do I have to dry it first? No. You buy them dried if you buy it out of the grocery store, but you don't have to dry it to use it. You can use the leaves fresh, clipped off the tree and thrown into a pot of soup or stew or pot roast, whatever you're cooking. the leaves are not edible. They just add a flavor to your food. So they need to be removed before you serve your dish.